So good morning, everybody. Jiao An. And just continuing on from what I was saying yesterday morning about Anapanasati. And Anapanasati, the meditation on the breath, is one of the core meditations. And I'll tell you, well, you probably already know already, it's a natural type of meditation which happens automatically if you know how to let go. One of those suttas, which I mentioned yesterday as well, when it was translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi, it's not a bad translation, but he called it, enlightenment is a natural process. In other words, you don't have to do anything except stop doing things, and it happens automatically. And to make that very clear, I usually have a simile. My cup of water here. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the water in here? Okay. How can I keep this perfectly still? Perfectly still. Sometimes I may decide to hold it and focus and make my body really still. I've never ever been able to do that, no matter how hard I try. And of course, that is not what meditation is about. Not holding your mind still, but letting go, renouncing, giving up, being able to observe without interfering. So how this water becomes absolutely still is when you put it down. You let it go, almost no effort. And then I look at it, oh, it's already perfectly still. That's much more still than I can ever hold it. That stillness becomes a naturally occurring phenomena. When you don't interfere, it becomes still. So the job of meditation is learning how not to interfere, so you can really be still. That's why every one of you has the ability to meditate. Unfortunately, we keep on interfering. One of my favorite stories was of, in a Thai village many years ago, there was a boy, when he first went to school, the grade 1, in the primary school. That was when he was found out to be intellectually challenged. He found it a hard time to remember anything or to learn. So much so that after the first year at the primary school in his village, the teacher had to fail him. He could not go up to grade 2. So the teacher made sure that he went to grade 1 for a second year. I know many people who maybe failed a year at university or one particular course, but to fail grade 1 in a primary school, I mean, that is really exceptional. How could you do that? But anyway, had to repeat grade 1. And after repeating grade 1, and after the second year, the teacher said, look, I tried to be kind and compassionate, but this fellow can't remember anything. So I had to fail him and repeat grade 1 for the third year. All his friends are the same age, went ahead to grade 2, grade 3. He had to repeat grade 1 3 years in a row. And at the end of that third year, he said, look, I can't pass him. He's intellectually challenged. So I got kicked out of the school after 1 year, after 3 years of doing grade 1. And what do you do? This was in Thailand, in a Thai village when someone can't even pass grade 1. Too stupid even to lead the water buffalo to the right place in the fields to graze. So there's only one thing they thought was possible, to send him to the Buddhist temple. Now, not all monks have started like that. So anyway, they sent him to the local temple, and the head monk there was very compassionate and extremely patient. He tried to teach him Namo Tassa, one of the basic chants. I remember this story because in the car taking me here, you had that on the radio, or on the whatever it is, the Namo Tassa chant. So it took him about a couple of months to learn Namo. And after he completed understanding Namo, then the head monk got him into the second part, Tassa. And he started learning Tassa, and then he forgot Namo. What was that first part? That was how difficult it was for him to learn. So after about a year, the head monk, making no progress, said, look, it's a waste of time me teaching you. You can't even learn the chanting, which is essential for Buddhist monks. You have to learn some chanting. So I know that when I was a young monk and still hadn't learned the chanting yet, Ajahn taught me a little trick. And you can actually see this in other monks now. Now I'm telling you. He said, if you don't know the chant, don't look around like you're a confused person. Just move your mouth up and down. Then all your lay followers will think you know the chant. But anyway, he didn't know the chant at all. So what do you do with someone who can't even learn chanting? And then he thought, the only one place to send him, forest monastery, the Wat Bar. And again, I must say that not all monks who went to the forest monasteries were that stupid. Because that's where I went to, forest monastery. So in the forest monasteries, they weren't teaching any chanting. The abbot there, the head monk, just taught him how to meditate. I wish I had started on that at the very beginning. His mind was so simple, so peaceful, he could meditate so easily. And he soon became one of the acknowledged arahats in Thailand. And he still couldn't learn chanting. But what he did, because fully enlightened, he could remember some of his past lives when he had been a bhikkhu. And he channeled what he'd learned in the previous life into this life. So he could do all the chanting using his memory going back to the past. And that's a true story. I won't tell you the monk's name, it's a long time ago. And nevertheless, if you are not clever enough to know the chanting, please come to my monastery. We'll make you an arahat. So I kind of like that simplicity of the mind. There's always something we can do and make use of the qualities which you have to live with in this life. So because of that I often say, once you know what is happening in meditation, it's a natural process. You just let go. Have you heard that word before, to let go? What does it mean? Have you ever been able to let go? It is so easy to do. To do something, to pick up something, this is heavy. To pick up the teddy bear, well, how do I pick it up? I just noticed actually, this one wasn't here last time. What's the big teddy bear's been doing overnight? You have to keep precepts, okay? Big teddy bear. So anyhow, to be able to let go means whatever's happened, you renounce it. None of my business anymore. I don't have to worry about it. Are you going to have an election in Penang in the next year? Politics? I haven't got a clue, and I don't care. I don't vote. I live in Australia. I let that one go. Why can't you? Things which you can't make a difference with, why can't we learn how to let go? When we let go, life becomes so much more peaceful. That's one of the reasons why, as monks and nuns, we don't have any partners. We let go a long time ago. I was just wondering what you're going to think about this. You're thinking that you should all get divorced? No, you have to keep your commitments. For those who aren't married yet, when you stay single, you have a much more peaceful life. And when you have a peaceful life, you have more time, it's easier to meditate. So this is one of the reasons, if you want to have someone to look after in life, if you want to have someone to look after, don't get a husband, get a dog. They never argue back at you. And they always love you as a dog. That's one of the reasons why I think dogs, I just stop talking like this. But nevertheless, having lots of friends, you also have freedom as well. The freedom when you can meditate, have a beautiful life of letting go, nothing to worry about. How many of you have retired, so you don't have to work anymore? Wow, you are so lucky. Hey, what about you monks? I retired 51 years ago. Oh, what a wonderful decision that was. So it gives you much more freedom, less worry, less burdens which you have to keep carrying. And even, I mean that, how many of you saw me at the airport when I arrived? How many of you see me so many years arriving in Penang airport with my baggage? Any baggage? Actually, I've got my baggage here. This is when I travel on international flights. And over in Perth, people know me. So when I go there, they never ask, oh, where's all your extra baggage? I say, this is it. You don't need that much. One thing which is important for me, I never follow fashion. I don't have to worry. Is this the right color for the season in Penang? Is this warm enough? Imagine when you're carrying this, it's so easy to take this to an airport. You don't need much. When you don't need much, life becomes so much more simple, so much easier. And just like that monk who couldn't even pass grade 1 at school. Don't ever think if you've got a child and they don't pass grade 1, don't think they're stupid. It's a monk, an arahat, and a monk or a nun to be. Simple mind, but very powerful. Do you think too much? We worry about things and we found out later it didn't matter at all. That's what I used to find out. That all those things I worried about the most, it never happened. whatever you fear is going to happen, it really worries you. Don't worry, it won't happen. It's always something much worse. It's actually not much worse. It just depends how you look upon it. So because of that, we can have some fun with life. That's why I tell lots of jokes, lots of funny stories, because it means you don't take your life so seriously that it spoils your life. The only time which really matters in life will always be right now. Please never worry about the future. Worry about the present. That you can do something. The future is too far in the distance. Right now is here. And right now when it's here, you can make peace with it. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. Have you seen those words before? Who said them? No. Who said them was the Buddha. That's the second factor of the Eightfold Path. Samma Sankappa. Nekama Sankappa, Avayapada Sankappa, Ahingsaka Sankappa. This is just where the mind is coming from. Thoughts of renunciation. To me, I just call that making peace, because renunciation is too long a word. It means you let go. You create peace in your life. You don't wait for peace to be here. You make peace with things. And even disturbing noises. An example. When I was a 6-year-old monk in Thailand, I did hear that there was some very, very old buses in Thailand, and they were using those for public transport. And many of those buses were not properly maintained, and so sometimes they caught fire. And I remember one of the monks, which I knew, he was in one of those buses when it caught fire. I think somebody was smoking, and just that ignited some rubbish on the floor. And they all had to evacuate immediately. And it was such a severe fire in the bus, his alms bowl got incinerated. And the bus company, at least they were good enough to offer him a new alms bowl. But the old one was burnt to bits. So I knew that it was something which happened. So I was in a bus in the northeast of Thailand. And if you're a monk in northeast of Thailand, they always put you in the front of the bus. So the front 2 seats were for monks. And that was because they were also worried about a head-on collision. And they thought if you put the monks in the front, it will protect all the lay people behind. Honestly, that's what they did. I saw that once when I was going from Chonburi into Bangkok. It was on one of these buses, the fast buses, very highly maintained. And the bus driver put me in the front seat. And, I had a layperson with me who could pay the fare. He wasn't traveling with me, but he just paid the fare. And the bus driver said, no need. So, being a monk, got in there cost-free. And I understand why it was cost-free. Put me right in the front. And the bus driver, as soon as I sat in the front, he smiled. He was actually very happy, because it was one of these buses which had a movie screen, a TV screen. And he was watching the movie too, the driver. And it was my job, because I got on there free, to make sure he never hit anything. So I saw him and he was watching the movie. And we were very close sometimes. We never hit anything. I arrived safely in Bangkok. I knew why he was happy to have a monk protecting him so he could watch the TV. And that was very common in Thailand. So common that I thought, yeah, let's make sure that I can make use of this. So the next time I was flying off, I think it was to London, on Thai Airways, economy class, and I told when I checked in, I said, if you fly on a bus, they always put you in the front seat to protect the aircraft from any crashes. I remember the guy who was checking me and said, nice try, but no. So anyhow, I don't know where I was going with this. So anyhow, when you are, there's a point to this story. Oh yes, yeah. On this particular occasion, I was in a bus in the northeast of Thailand. I knew the stories, but there's no fires anywhere, so I thought it was safe. But then there was smoke coming out of the back of the bus. And one of the passengers shouted out, fire, fire! And they were all so fearful of fires that the driver slammed on the brakes. And it was very, very sudden, the way we braked. And he opened the window in the little part of the bus for the driver and climbed out the window. He wasn't going to wait to get through the main door of the bus. And everybody else started running or pushing towards the bus entrance, exit, trying to force their way out. The smoke was filling the back of the bus. And I was sitting next to a younger monk. I did not know him. But you know the rule for monks, we're not supposed to come into physical contact with members of the opposite gender. The monk sitting next to me forgot that rule. He was trying to get out as fast as he could. As for me, I was just sitting there wondering what's going on. I don't watch the TV news. I don't look at newspapers. What's the big problem? I just sat there. And everybody else crowded out and forced their way out. I was just in the front seat by the window. I just sat there. When everybody was out of the bus, except for me and one other person who was trying to find out what the cause of the smoke was. I was just sitting there, and this other guy, he just said, okay, it's all right, it's only a cigarette. There's a little bit of paper. It's all safe. And he put this out so that smoke stopped. As everybody came in, they put their hands up at me. Oh, Arahat, well done. They called me Arahat, and even the back came in, oh, sorry, for Arahat. I wasn't an Arahat, because I just didn't know what their problem was. Sometimes it's nice not to know. Then you can be nice and peaceful. How many of you watch TV news? It makes you worried. And most of the things they say never happen. It makes you worried because that makes you watch the next episode or the next broadcast. And that's one of the reasons why in monks we don't have TVs. One of the reasons why you don't watch news. The news only tells you the things which causes you to worry. It's one of the reasons why when you come on a retreat, you learn to let all of that busy stuff disappear. So you don't listen to radios or TVs. You don't look at newspapers. So you can have a nice, peaceful time. And all those worries kind of disappear. I still remember once that, have you ever eaten or drunk miso soup? I didn't have no idea what it was for years until I went from Thailand into Perth. And at that time, the monk who was with me was really concerned, because I think it was Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, and he thought there's going to be a nuclear war. And apparently, if you drink lots of miso soup, it protects you from radiation sickness. So he made sure we had miso soup every morning for breakfast. I never worried about a nuclear war. There's a nuclear war, you don't want to survive. Everyone else is going to be wiped out, and I have to depend on you guys for arms food. I'll go on arms food and no one will be able to offer any. So, but anyhow, it was very hard to get something you liked to drink in those days, especially we weren't usually allowed breakfast in those days. So I was very happy. I never argued, as long as I got some miso soup in the morning. It's totally about craving, nothing else. I was a young monk at the time. But I always, please don't offer any of that to me. People looking after me. Otherwise, I think, you know something I don't know. But anyhow, it was just the way that people's fear so controls their life. When you don't be afraid of anything. Honestly, what have I got to be afraid of? What have you got to be afraid of? Of losing? You know, it's very lovely to be able to lose. So much so, that I remember when I first went over to Perth, I kind of thought, wouldn't it be wonderful, in order to actually to create these connections with so many other people, especially people from other religions, why don't we start a Buddhist soccer team, a football team? I just kind of thought about this one day. Do you have a Penang Buddhist soccer team? Maybe we could have a Mahayana team and a Theravada team. Let's see which one wins. But I thought that if we had a Buddhist soccer team, we'd always lose. You know why? Because of compassion, kindness. You don't want to disappoint others by beating them. And it's also, how would you play soccer as a Buddhist? If someone else needed the ball, you give it to them. Kindness, renunciation, letting go. And if, out of compassion, if they couldn't score a goal themselves, you'd score an own goal. You made them happy. Isn't that how you should practice as a Buddhist? So because of that, the idea never got off the ground. It's much more peaceful that way. Even these days, one of the things I used to play when I was in England was cricket. The problem is now that you've got, like Sri Lanka, they're very into their cricket. Can I confess a mistake which I made many years ago? That mistake was when the Sri Lankan cricket team, they have a good cricket team, were playing Australia in a big cricket ground in Perth. And at the lunch interval, a couple of Sri Lankan boys came to me and they said, our team is doing terribly. We're really being beaten by the Australian cricket team. So some of the senior members of the Sri Lankan cricket team, they know you. Can you please go to that monk and ask for some of this, they call it pirate thread, you wear around your wrist. Have you seen that before? The pirate thread? It's supposed to bring you good luck. So being a nice, kind monk, I made 12 pieces of string for the Sri Lankan cricket team. One, they say, for the 12th man. If in cricket, they always have a 12th man. So I made 12 pieces of string. And the boys I gave it to, they said they gave it to the cricket team. They were very happy, thankful. But they did terribly. They were really beaten badly by the Australians. Wait a minute, I did my bit. But then, that was only like a practice match for what they call the World Cup cricket tournament. That was over in India and Sri Lanka. And at that World Cup cricket tournament, you know what happened? Sri Lanka cricket team did really well. They got into the final. And their opponents in the final of the, I think, 2009 World Cup cricket was Australia. And, of course, you don't watch it as a monk, but I did find out who the winner was. Sri Lanka. It was the first major tournament they ever won. And even now, you ask any Sri Lankan, when was that cricket match played? They all remember. It was like kind of a miracle. First time they ever won a major international tournament. And I even saw, someone showed me the newspaper to confirm it. The captain of the Sri Lankan cricket team on that occasion was this fellow called Ajahn. And he was holding up the trophy in a front page picture in the newspaper. And of course he was holding it up. What did I see around his wrist? Oh my goodness. Ajahn Brahm's pirate thread. He was wearing my string. So was everybody else in the team. And I kept that a secret for many years. Honestly, I did. I never told anybody. Because Australia also loves its cricket. If they had found out why they'd lost the final of this major tournament, even though I had Australian passport, they'd revoke it and send me away somewhere. And that was so true. And actually they had another tournament, World Cup cricket later on. And one of the star batsmen in that first match, the first tournament, he came to see me. You know what he asked for? More string. I did give it to him, but I never blessed it as powerfully. So they never got anywhere. I wouldn't make the same mistake again. But isn't it wonderful when you can let go and you don't really worry so much about what happens? What about your finances? Have you got enough funds? Are you worried in case there's a financial crisis? You won't be able to pay the bills? You won't be able to support Ajahn Brahm? Please, don't support me so much. Look, I've got enough spare capacity in here to last for days without food. Sometimes we worry way too much. And when you stop worrying and start living, you understand why it's important to know how to let go. To enjoy this moment rather than keep worrying about the future. And most of the time the future doesn't happen. That's such an important part of meditation. Present moment awareness. So when my mind starts to think, oh my goodness, what am I having for lunch today? What would happen if they forgot? What would happen if they gave me the wrong food? What would happen if I don't like it? What would happen if I get sick? I never ever think like that. And if for some reason the food is late, great. Have a nice easy afternoon. When you don't worry, you realize just why worrying takes you away from the present moment. I often say this to try and encourage you not to think of the future. Now is the only time you can make a good future. Now. So every time you start thinking of the future, you're actually making it worse. If you can be in this present moment just now, now is where the future is being made. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. In this present moment, then you have a wonderful future. I guarantee it. I can write you an insurance policy. As long as you remain in the present moment, you'll be fine. All that really means is you know the power of meditation. So in this present moment, that's all there ever is. So many of your thoughts and worries, and even so many of your anger which you have. Do you get upset at other people? Do you get upset at me sometimes? Come on, be honest. If you do get upset, why? Do you get upset at your husband? Your wife? Your boss? Why? It's like getting upset at birds. You know, sometimes the birds may be just flying through the sky. They've got to poop somewhere. Sometimes it just happens by chance. It's on your head when you're walking past. They don't do it intentionally. That's sometimes just what happens. So a lot of times we don't need to get angry at anything. Isn't that wonderful? Sometimes I try and encourage people, just as a test. Try and make me angry today. I challenge you. I don't know how you'll be able to do it. A lot of times, it's impossible. Why get angry? If I get angry, it's like I'm allowing you to win. Instead of getting angry, just make peace. Be kind, be gentle. This is one of the reasons why I didn't make this statement in one of the talks recently. There's this lady who was working so hard at one of the fundraisers we were doing in Perth. I forget for what cause, but she really worked harder than anybody else, and she was Malaysian. And I said, why are you working so hard? And she told me, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm always honest, I said, no. She said, you did my marriage blessing for me about 6 months earlier, 9 months earlier. And during the blessing ceremony, that's where I told her the simile of the chicken and the duck. Do you all remember that simile? What is it? This couple in love, they were walking in the park and they heard the sound, quack, 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 quack. And he said, oh, that's a duck. She said, no, it's not a duck, it's a chicken. He said, it's a duck. No, it's not, it's a chicken. It's a duck. No, it can't be, it's a chicken. No, it's not, it's a duck. Have you ever had those arguments, with your partners? D-U-C-K, duck. He said. And he looked in her eyes. And they were starting to get ready to cry. It was a chicken. And he looked at her and he realized what's more important, to be in harmony or to be right? Which is most important? Obviously, to be in love, to be in harmony is more important than being right about chickens and ducks. And anyway, how many times in your life so far you thought you were right and found out you were wrong? Because I've told that story for so many years, now we have Wikipedia, internet, and someone did send me an article saying there was one article about a chicken, and she was orphaned when she was young. So she was brought up by a family of ducks. This is honest, at the internet, the article. Brought up by a family of ducks, so this chicken does actually fly through the air and go quack quack. It really is a chicken. Very, very rare, but sometimes it happens. I don't always think you must be right. It's much better to give that freedom to everybody else, to be at peace, to be in love. So anyway, that's the importance. So not worth arguing. Are you always right? I've had a lot of discussions with people. How to meditate. Do you meditate as Ajahn Brahm says? Do you meditate as some other teacher says? Do you meditate as the Buddha says? Do you meditate as your preferred teacher says? Which one is right? Which one is wrong? Quack, quack. And so anyway, that lady, she said the reason why she was offering her services more than anybody else at that time to our Buddhist society to raise funds for an important project, she said, because I found it very hard to live with my husband at first. He was a Westerner, another Angmo. And because she said that sometimes we had to discuss things. We were a married couple. We had to make decisions. And whenever there was any difficult decision to make, and I was getting really sort of upset and angry, and he would just look at me and go, quack, quack. And he'd walk out of the room. And I didn't know what he was up to. What do you mean, quack, quack? And then one day, he just explained, don't you remember what Ajahn Brahm said at our wedding? Instead of arguing, I'm just going to assume you're right. And that sort of stopped all those arguments in their life together afterwards. She said for the last 6 months after that, remembering why you should just work with each other rather than argue against each other. Then she stopped arguing. They started having a wonderful life together out of thanks, out of gratitude for teaching some Dhamma. That's why she said, thank you. And she wanted to show her gratitude by working really, really hard for the temple. And I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is actually how we can have more harmony in this world. More peace. So that when you start meditating, you don't have to think about the argument you had this morning with your boss at work, or just with, your kids or your parents. Just the harmony is not that hard to achieve. And it makes life much more peaceful, much more free. And when you have that type of freedom, it's easy to meditate. Every now and again, and it's usually, I come to Malaysia once a year about this time. So once to Penang and the other time to KL. And after the retreat, we go back to Perth and we do some New Year's Eve ceremonies. And after New Year's Eve ceremonies finish, you know what I do? I have a personal retreat. For 6 or 7 days, I just go into my cave. I live in a cave. And in that cave, I just stay there for 6 or 7 days. Sometimes longer if I can get away with it. And just to do nothing. And I'll tell you how I meditate. I just go in there, get up in the morning, have a cup of tea, and just cross my legs and start meditating. What do I meditate? How? For me, I just keep it totally natural. I don't do anything. I sit there, stay in this moment. No goals, no thinking of the past. If I feel tired, I just check. Is it real tiredness? If it is, I lay down and go to sleep. I'm not embarrassed. Much of the time, it surprises me. I'm not tired. The reason I'm not tired, because I don't think very much. Because you don't think very much, you're not using up your energy. First few days tired, you just come back international flights and stuff, doing lots of work in Perth, catching up. But then after half a day, that's all finished. I just do nothing. Nothing doing. This thing inside of me which wants to make things better, which wants to do responsibilities, which wants to clean up or whatever, I ignore. And soon you get so peaceful. There are enough monks in Bodhinyana Monastery, not just monks but other people, keeping the place clean, making the lunches. We don't have much to do as monks. That's why we try to celebrate being a monk, not spoiling it by doing too much. So we leave it alone. I'm in my cave. You know a cave, those of you who've seen it, it's very easy to keep clean. There's no windows. I don't have to wash any windows. There's hardly any furniture, so I don't have to repair furniture or clean it. You get your housework done in about half an hour. That's why I remember some ladies, like a women's afternoon group, they asked to see my cave. And when they came out afterwards, they said, wow, I wish I lived in a place like this. I get all my housework for the week done in half an hour. And I like that comment because that's true. You don't need much for a place to live. And so because of that, you have a nice, easy life, nothing much to do. What happens? You get peaceful. Do I get bored? No way. Because peace is very, very delightful. You sit there, nothing to do. So you start observing your breath. Such an easy thing to do, watching your breath. You're not struggling, you're not trying to do anything. It's the only thing left. Okay, I'll tell you how easy it is to watch the breath. Oh, I'm not going over time, am I? Is the timing okay? 9:30, we go to the next thing. Okay. Okay, oh yeah. But after a talk like this, it's such a wonderful talk, you won't have any questions. Okay, I'm going to tell you one of the anecdotes which really meant a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to you as well. In my 6th rains retreat, this is when you have the opportunity to go wandering around and find a nice temple you can stay in. It's for the rains retreat. That's the period between July and October. And after wandering around Thailand, I find this perfect place. I couldn't make it better. It was high in the mountains above Chiang Mai, in Penang district. It was a monastery which had already been built. And there was no other monks staying there. I couldn't believe why it had been abandoned. And the lay people told me, the monks who stayed there before said they got bored. The villagers never came to listen very much or discuss things. No other monks came. It was too quiet for them. When I said that, I thought, what? They couldn't stand being quiet? I'm in. I want a monastery such as this where no one bothers you. I could just do my meditation. And it also had this huge cave. And it's a limestone area. And so I used to go in the cave every morning after my one meal a day, staying there till the afternoon before I came out again. It's so cool, so quiet. I love caves. And even better, in that monastery, I was born in England. In that monastery, it was in the middle of a tea plantation. Wherever you looked, you could see tea bushes. I had as much tea as I could ever drink. They were always offering me the tea. So this was like paradise for me. An English monk in a tea plantation with a beautiful cave, no work to do, nothing to do. It bored other monks, but not me. I love this. So this is what happened to me. In the perfect monastery, one day I started getting restless, started thinking about stuff. I'm being honest with you. It's embarrassing to say, but the solution is important to tell you. I started thinking, I was only six years a monk, so I was 29 years of age, still a young monk, a young man. I started thinking of all my ex-girlfriends. I wonder if she's still available. Oh, come on, Ajahn Brahm, you're a monk, you like being a monk. Yes, I do like being a monk. But, she was very nice. All these embarrassing thoughts started coming into my mind. And I tried to stop them. I didn't want to leave. I loved being a monk. I always have. And they kept on coming in, and I could not stop them. And said, no, I'm still young and fit. I've got a good degree. I can get a job easy enough. And no, stop it. You're a monk. That's your job. And the more I tried to stop those thoughts, the stronger they became. And after a while, because you were alone, living in this monastery by yourself, then I kind of thought, I can't stand this. So I went down, I didn't have another monk to talk with. So I went down to the main hall, and I bowed 3 times to the Buddha statue there. And I kind of said, help, I was suffering. And the idea came up, the insight came up. Not the usual insight. The insight was, let's do a deal. I was a Westerner. Doing deals is what we do. So the deal was this. I said, I will promise to try and watch my breathing most of the day. But from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. every afternoon, I will relax, and any thought which comes into my mind, I won't try and get rid of. Even sexy, so impossible thoughts which monks should be ashamed of, I would let in. Anything goes from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. But other times of the day, mind, you behave. And that's what I did. It never worked. Not as I expected. This is why I tell the story. So I was meditating and watching the breath come, watch the breath go in, go. And then these thoughts would just come in by themselves. Stop it. No, I'm a monk. I should think like this. They'd come in again. And it was a struggle. I was so tired trying to control my mind. We got to 3 p.m. and at least I'm always honest. I always keep my promises. So at 3 p.m. I went to my hut, leant against the wall, said, okay, for 1 hour you can think any thought you want. Even the most embarrassing thoughts, I allow you. You know what happened for the next hour? I watched every breath without missing one. So easy. That shocked me, but it taught me a wonderful lesson. The reason why I was thinking these unmonkish thoughts is because I was trying not to. As soon as I let go and relaxed, it was easy to watch the breath. Every breath for an hour. It was crazy. But it taught me the secret of meditation. Stop craving. Stop trying. Let go. Be in this moment. Be kind. Be gentle. Let this moment be. And it relaxes. That's why this beautiful breath used to come in again and again. I didn't ask it to come, it just happened. No effort. The right effort is to say no. Not to do something, but to let go. And that taught me the power of letting go. Really put this down. That cup of water, every time I put it down, it becomes still, all by itself. I don't make it still. It becomes still. Every time I just watching my mind and let go, it becomes still. And in that stillness, usually the first thing which comes up is the breathing. I have to breathe. And then, when you're watching that breath, what do you do next in meditation? It's always the first 4 stages of anapanasati. You just know if it's long or short. Just know the breath and calm it down. Pretty simple. Then what happens next? There's a wonderful stuff which happens with meditation. The 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th stages of meditation. You watch the in and out breath with beautiful piti, with joy. You watch the in and out breath with sukha, with happiness. And my goodness, these aren't small things. You really are having a wonderful time watching your breath. And the next stage of this meditation, it actually explains why this is happening. You watch the whole Chitta Sankhara. Chitta Sankhara. This is how the mind is seeing the breath. You are not experiencing the breath through the 5th sense, the physical touch anymore. You're watching the breath because you know the breath. You're feeling it as the mind experiences it. This is what you know, not what you know by touch. And that's a far more simple experience, far more beautiful. Sometimes it gets so wonderful, you get blissed out. You're meditating really happily. And sometimes that's when people, when they are meditating that happily, they meditate through lunch or through the evening, or they're still meditating here at night time, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, they're still here. Please don't interfere with them. Don't think there's something wrong with them. This is what happens when you're really enjoying how the mind is experiencing the breath and what happens next. You don't want to move. You're having a wonderful time. And this is why I stay as a monk. Ajahn Brahm, why are you a monk? Haven't you had enough of being a monk after 51 years? No way. You enjoy it. You get much more bliss in this meditation than you get from anywhere else in this world. An example of that, this one lady who comes to mind. She was an executive in Sydney, and she told me she had to beg and just negotiate with her boss to get the 7, 8, 9 days off to go on my retreat. But she grovelled and begged, and eventually he gave in and gave her permission to come on my retreat in Perth. When she came, she was so tired out. First 2 or 3 days, I told her, just sleep. Stay in your room. Don't come out except for lunch, breakfast and lunch. She was very obedient. And then she started meditating. And then she really understood the teachings. And she got some beautiful states of mind. Lots of piti sukha, lots of bliss. And when she did that, she went home after the end of the retreat. The next day she sent an email to me. And in the email she said, thank you so much for your teachings. When I went back to Sydney, my boss looked at me. Straight away, he could see that I was so much more peaceful and happy. And he asked me, what drug does Ajahn Brahm give you? I'm not critical. Whatever drug it is, please make sure you bring me back some next time. They could really see the difference. You've had a wonderful time. You've been happy. Real happiness, deep happiness, blissing out. And that's what happens when you know how to let go. This piti sukha comes up. You go into the realm of the mind. Once that piti sukha comes up, that I'll go into this more detail later. You see these beautiful lights in your mind, the nimittas. Beautiful lights, right in front of you. Doesn't matter what color they are, their intensity is important. Bright. Sometimes you think you're going to go blind. I remember when these things started happening to me, sometimes you thought, you can't withstand such a brilliant light. But you're not seeing it with the eyes. You're seeing it with your mind. It can be as brilliant as anything. It never harms you. And the other thing which I say this with honesty. Sometimes the bliss you feel, the pleasure you feel is enormous. And sometimes I remember thinking, when you come out of the meditation, how much pleasure can a human being tolerate? Legitimate, that's the idea which came up, so much pleasure. How much can you tolerate before exploding? And the answer is, being a scientist before, you experiment. Much more. No limit. If you want to really enjoy yourself and have the Christmas of a lifetime, really get into this meditation, follow the instructions, and you bliss out so much, no limits. Are you in for that? You see what I'm saying? It's called marketing. But it's so true. And it really makes me happy when you see other people say, Ajahn, you know you were right. Yes. The pleasure of the mind is intense. That's why you understand what heavenly beings feel. A beautiful mind. Not worrying about the future. Let go of the past. Not needing to think. Just enjoying this moment. And then that spread through your whole body. So that's the talk for this morning. I've given you enough instructions already. There'll be some more coming tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. I'm doing some interviews soon, but you're supposed to have some questions and answers. Any quick question? Okay, go on. When you're in meditation, you're supposed to what? Yeah? On the breath. Well, if you're not sleeping and you're sleep deprived, you don't have to sleep. Honestly, sometimes you let the body decide. There's many times in my life meditating. I remember just once getting into some really nice meditation at a retreat I was teaching over in Western Australia. And so you lay down, trying to get to sleep, and you think, because you should do. It's only just what you're conditioned to believe. And afterwards, the sleep wasn't there. And I remember seeing this image, which was the end of that sleep, any type of sleep, even the half sleep. The image was one of my favorite monks I knew in the time. I was a young monk, a monk called Ajahn in Chiang Mai. No, not in Chiang Mai, sorry, in Sri Chiang Mai on the Mekong River, in the northeast of Thailand. And, he passed away. But I remembered seeing this image of, his grave. And I remembered all the times I'd spent with him, and that just blissed me out. What happens blissing out? Sometimes you see this great nimitta, beautiful light. It grows enormously, like explosively. And that was the end of that sleep that night. You just sat up, crossed your legs, and blissed out for a few hours. And in the bedroom, when the bell went for the morning, start of the morning meditation, you just go up and go to the morning meditation. I didn't need any sleep, because your mind and body were filled with the energy of that deep meditation. Sometimes you need to sleep, but ask your body, and the body will give you the correct answer. Then I don't need sleep today. That's natural, that's normal. What happens? Is there any other question? Because we haven't got much time yet. Yes? Excellent. Yes. How you do that is make sure you have a lunch break. Do you have a lunch break at work? Great. Make sure you have a lunch break. 1 hour. 10 minutes for stuffing something in your mouth. And then close your eyes in a quiet place and meditate. Please know the importance of relaxing at lunchtime. Don't go with your computer on doing an email. Don't go talking with your friends. This guy I know over in New York, a lawyer, every lunch hour he gets his secretary to lock him in a cupboard. And he does that so if anybody tries to get to him or someone emails, urgent, I need to speak to him. I'm sorry, sir, he's in his cupboard. And that means he becomes a much better lawyer in the afternoon. Also a much better boss. You don't waste so much time at work. Okay, no one else got their hand up, yes? No. The posture is not so important as long as you're comfortable. But once you get into stages like nimittas, you can't feel the body anyway. So wherever you're sitting or laying down or standing or whatever, the body vanishes. Nimittas is like a mind object. So you can't feel the body. So you try and get into a decent posture at the beginning to manage to get quiet enough to actually let the body go. Yes? No, don't talk to the chatting mind. Just ignore it. How to be kind? Be kind to you, the listener. You're not the chatter. You can be a listener, not a person who starts the chats. You're not the talker. You're not the thinker. For some reason or another, we have celebrated thinkers. Celebrate listeners. So just be someone who's passively listening, and you'll find nearly all of your thoughts are quite stupid. They're not worth listening to. And that means it takes away the importance of thoughts. And when you take away its importance, they get less and less disturbing for you. Easy. Right now, can you just feel your wrist? What do you think about that? Nothing. There's nothing much to think about. Try and do things which you can't give an opinion about, which you can't think about. You know, but thoughts, good, bad, disappear. Don't think. Sorry? Can't understand. Excellent. If you can't understand, it means you can't react. If you can't react, you can't think. Don't try to understand. Okay, so now we go for the interviews. Okay, very good. Sorry to rush you because I did talk a bit much at first. So interviews now, and then after interviews, anything else to say? No, okay. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.